The alarm bells rang through the Federation monitoring station like thunder. Commander Jake Martinez jumped from his chair and ran to the main control panel. Red lights flashed across every screen in the room. Something was very wrong. "What's happening?" Jake shouted to his team. The station floated high above Earth, watching the stars for any sign of trouble. For 6 months, everything had been quiet. Too quiet. "Sir, we're getting an emergency signal from the Zilani system," called out operator Lisa Chen from her station. Her hands moved fast across the controls. "It's coming through on all channels at once." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. The Zilani were one of the most peaceful races in the Federation. They made medicine and helped sick people across the galaxy. They never fought with anyone. If they were calling for help, something terrible was happening. "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The large display flickered to life. The image was shaky and filled with static. A tall, crystal-like being appeared on screen. Its normally blue skin had turned pale white with fear. Jake recognized the creature as High Healer Kethmar, one of the Zilani leaders. "Please, anyone who can hear this message," the alien spoke in a shaking voice. "This is High Healer Kethmar of Zilani Prime. We are under attack. The Vrak Empire has returned. They have broken through our defenses. Our cities are burning." The image shook as explosions boomed in the background. Jake could see the crystal towers of the Zilani capital city cracking and falling. Black smoke rose from dozens of fires. "Our defense ships were not built for war," Kethmar continued. "We are healers, not fighters. The Vrak war machines are destroying everything. We estimate 72 hours before our world falls completely. Please, we beg for help from our Federation friends." The transmission cut to static. The room fell silent except for the hum of computers. Jake stared at the blank screen. The Vrak Empire. He had read about them in the Federation history files. 20 years ago, they had tried to conquer half the galaxy. The Federation had banished them to the outer rim of space. Everyone thought they were gone for good. "Get me a direct line to Federation Central Command," Jake said. His voice was steady, but inside he felt worried. The Federation had never dealt with a real war before. Most alien races had evolved on safe, gentle worlds. They built ships for exploring and trading, not fighting. Within minutes, the Federation Council gathered for an emergency meeting. Leaders from 12 different species appeared on screens around the room. Jake watched from Earth's orbital station as they talked. "The situation is grave," said Chancellor Vorthon, the Federation's leader. His tentacles waved nervously as he spoke. "Our nearest battle fleet is 6 days away from Zilani Prime. By then, it will be too late." "What about the Centauri Defense Force?" asked another council member. "They have 30 ships in that sector. 30 exploration vessels," corrected Admiral Zektar of the Altarian Navy. "They carry light shields and mining lasers. Against Vrak war cruisers, they would be destroyed in minutes." Jake listened to the debate with growing frustration. The Federation had thousands of ships, but none of them were built for real combat. The various alien races had lived in peace for so long, they had forgotten how to fight wars. "There is one option we have not discussed," said Dr. Yathara, the Federation's science advisor. Her voice was quiet, almost whispered. "The humans have warships." The council chamber fell silent. Jake could see the uncomfortable looks on the alien faces. Humanity had joined the Federation only 2 years ago, and many species still feared them. "The humans come from a Class X death world," said Chancellor Vorthon slowly. "Their planet is covered in storms, earthquakes, and dangerous creatures. They have been fighting wars for thousands of years. That is exactly why we should not ask them," argued Councillor Thexer. "Humans are too violent, too unpredictable. If we let them loose in our galaxy, they might become worse than the Vrak." "With respect, Councillor," said Admiral Zektar, "we may not have a choice. The Zilani will be extinct in 3 days if we do nothing." Jake watched the debate continue for another hour. Some council members wanted to ask Earth for help. Others worried that humans would cause more problems than they solved. Finally, Chancellor Vorthon called for a vote. "All in favor of requesting military assistance from Earth?" he asked. 7 hands rose. 5 stayed down. The motion passes by a narrow margin, the Chancellor announced. Admiral Hayes of Earth Command will be contacted immediately. Jake felt both relief and worry at the same time. Earth's military was strong, but would it be strong enough to face the Vrak Empire? 2 hours later, Admiral Lisa Hayes arrived at the orbital station. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Jake had worked with her before and knew she was one of Earth's best military leaders. "Show me everything you have on the Vrak forces," she said without wasting time on greetings. Jake brought up the intelligence files on the main screen. According to our scouts, they have at least 40 war cruisers in the Zilani system. Each one is twice the size of our largest ships. They also have support vessels and fighter squadrons. Admiral Hayes studied the data carefully. Her face showed no emotion as she read the reports. "What about Federation support?" "The Council has authorized a limited human response only," Jake replied. "No other species can reach the battle zone in time." "Limited response," Hayes repeated, with a slight smile. "They don't want us to show too much of what we can do." She turned to face Jake directly. "Commander, do you know why Earth builds its ships the way we do?" Jake shook his head. "Because our planet tries to kill us every day," Hayes explained. "Hurricanes that can level cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, volcanoes that block out the sun. We built our ships to survive in conditions that would destroy any other vessel in the galaxy." She paused and looked back at the star charts showing the Zilani system. The Federation races evolved on garden worlds, where the biggest danger was a gentle rainstorm. They build ships for comfort and efficiency. We build ships to survive hell itself. Jake understood what she meant. Earth's vessels were built thick and heavy with massive engines and powerful weapons. Other species called them ugly and primitive, but they were designed for one purpose: to keep fighting no matter what. "How long until we can launch?" Jake asked. "The fleet is already being prepared," Admiral Hayes replied. "We'll depart in 18 hours. As she walked toward the exit, Hayes turned back one more time. "Commander, send a message to the Zilani. Tell them the cavalry is coming." The Earth orbital shipyards had never seen such activity. Thousands of workers moved like ants across the massive space platforms. Sparks flew from welding torches as engineers made final repairs to the war fleet. Admiral Lisa Hayes stood on the command deck of the UES Vengeance, watching her ships prepare for battle. "Status report," she called to her senior officers. Captain Ben Clark, commander of the Vengeance, approached with a datapad in his hands. He was a veteran of Earth's Space Defense Force with 20 years of experience. His weathered face showed the stress of preparing for humanity's first interstellar war. "All 3 ships are ready for departure, Admiral," Clark reported. "The Vengeance, Thunder, and Reaper are fully loaded with weapons and supplies. We have 800 crew members total." Hayes nodded and looked out at the other ships in the WUM formation. The UES Thunder was a heavy destroyer built for long-range combat. The UES Reaper was smaller but packed with advanced weapon systems. All 3 vessels had thick armor plating that made them look like floating fortresses. "What about the weapon modifications?" Hayes asked. "Chief Engineer Amy Rogers has removed all the safety protocols," Clark replied. "We can now fire at full power without worrying about Federation regulations." Amy Rogers stepped forward from her station. She was a small woman with grease-stained coveralls and sharp eyes. Her team had worked for 36 hours straight to prepare the ships. "Admiral, I've also upgraded our missile systems," Rogers explained. "Each ship now carries twice the normal ammunition load. Our plasma cannons can fire continuously for 40 minutes instead of the usual 20. Hayes smiled grimly. The Federation had always complained that human weapons were too powerful and dangerous. They required all member species to install safety systems that limited weapon output. But now, with the Vrak Empire threatening innocent lives, those safety systems were coming off. "Show me the crew preparations," Hayes ordered. The group moved to the Marine Bay where Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker was briefing his soldiers. 200 Marines in powered armor stood in perfect formation. Their black combat suits made them look like metal giants. "Listen up, Marines," Parker shouted. "We're going to face an enemy that has conquered 17 worlds. The Vrak are tough, but they've never fought humans before. They don't know what they're getting into. The Marines cheered. These soldiers had trained in Earth's most dangerous environments. They had fought in the Amazon jungle, the Sahara Desert, and the frozen wastelands of Antarctica. Space combat would be just another challenge. Parker held up a Vrak weapon captured from a previous battle. Intelligence says these energy rifles can punch through most Federation armor, but our suits are built from materials that can survive Earth's worst disasters. Their weapons will barely scratch us. One of the Marines raised his hand. What about their boarding tactics, sir? Good question, Private Johnson, Parker replied. The Vrak like to board enemy ships and fight hand-to-hand. They're strong and fast, but they come from a low-gravity world. In normal gravity, they'll be slow and clumsy. We'll have every advantage. Hayes watched the briefing with satisfaction. These Marines were the best soldiers humanity had ever produced. They carried weapons that could blast through steel walls. Their armor could withstand explosions that would kill most aliens instantly. Admiral, called Dr. Marcus Webb, the fleet's medical officer. I need to discuss the alien observers. Hayes turned to see 3 Federation representatives standing nearby. They had insisted on coming along to monitor humanity's military capabilities. The small, gray-skinned Altarians looked nervous. The tall, plant-like Verdani seemed fascinated by the human preparations. Dr. Zethkar, Hayes addressed the lead observer, a 4-armed scientist from the Nexus Collective. Are you ready for departure? Admiral Hayes, the alien replied in his mechanical voice. I must express concern about your weapon systems. Our instruments show energy outputs far beyond Federation standards. Are you certain these ships are safe? Hayes almost laughed. The alien observers had been asking the same question for hours. They couldn't understand how humans built ships that could survive in such dangerous conditions. Dr. Zethkar, our ships are designed to operate in Earth's orbital environment, she explained. We deal with solar radiation, meteor impacts, and electromagnetic storms on a daily basis. What seems dangerous to you is normal for us. The alien scientist typed notes on his portable computer. I see. And your crew members require no special protection from these extreme conditions? Humans evolved on a world that constantly tries to kill us, Hayes replied. We can handle radiation levels that would kill most Federation species. We can survive in gravity that would crush your bones. We can function in temperatures that would freeze your blood. Captain Clark stepped forward with another report. Admiral, the weapon systems are now fully operational. Each ship carries enough firepower to level a small moon. The alien observers exchanged worried glances. Dr. Zethkar spoke quietly into his communicator, probably reporting back to the Federation Council. What about our hyperspace jump capacity? Hayes asked. Engineer Rogers has optimized our jump drives, Clark reported. We can reach the Zalani system in 6 days instead of the usual 8. The acceleration will be rough, but our crews can handle it. Hayes knew that the high-speed jump would be impossible for most alien species. The G-forces would kill them, but humans had been dealing with extreme acceleration since the first airplane flights. Their bodies were built to endure punishment. All stations prepare for departure, Hayes announced over the ship's communication system. The final preparations began immediately. Cargo holds were sealed tight. Weapon systems went through final checks. The massive engines started their warm-up sequence. Admiral, Rogers called from the engineering station. I'm detecting unusual readings from the Federation observers. Equipment. They're scanning our ships with some kind of advanced sensors. Hayes walked over to the alien delegation. Gentlemen, is there a problem? Dr. Zethkar looked embarrassed. Forgive us, Admiral. The Federation Council requested detailed scans of your vessels. They want to understand your technology better. And what have you learned? Hayes asked. Your ships are unlike anything in our databases, the alien scientist admitted. The armor plating is 3 times thicker than our heaviest cruisers. Your weapons generate energy levels that our computers classify as impossible. Your engines produce thrust that should tear your ships apart. Hayes nodded. That's because we build things to last. On Earth, if something breaks, people die. We don't have the luxury of building delicate, efficient machines. We build machines that work no matter what. The countdown began. T-minus 10 minutes to departure, announced the ship's computer. Hayes took her position on the command bridge. Around her, the crew prepared for humanity's first interstellar military mission. They were heading into battle against an enemy that had never been defeated. But they were humans from Earth, and they had never backed down from a fight. "All ships report ready," Captain Clark announced. "Then let's go save some aliens," Hayes replied. The 3 warships moved away from Earth's orbital stations. Their engines glowed bright blue as they accelerated toward the jump point. Behind them, Earth grew smaller and smaller until it was just another star in the vast darkness of space. In 6 days, they would reach the Zilani system. In 6 days, the galaxy would learn what happened when someone threatened humanity's friends. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zilani system. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, staring at the scene before them. What she saw made her blood boil with anger. Zilani Prime, once a beautiful world of crystal cities and healing gardens, was now covered in smoke and fire. Dozens of massive Vrak warships surrounded the planet like hungry wolves. The elegant spires of the Zilani capital were broken and burning. Debris from destroyed defense. Satellites floated in space like a graveyard. "My God," whispered Captain Clark. "They've destroyed everything." The tactical display showed 43 Vrak vessels in the system. Their dark ships were long and sharp, built to look scary and mean. Each one was twice the size of the human ships. Thousands of smaller fighter craft buzzed around them like angry insects. "Communications, try to reach the Zilani surface," Hayes ordered. Lieutenant Danny Foster worked at his station for several minutes. Finally, a weak signal came through. The voice was barely a whisper. "This is Emergency Center 7 on Zilani." "Prime," the alien voice said. "Most of our cities have fallen. We estimate less than 12 hours before complete surrender." "Who is this?" "This is Admiral Hayes of the Earth Defense Force," she replied. "We received your distress call. Help has arrived." There was silence for a long moment. Then the Zilani voice spoke again, this time with a hint of hope. "Earth ships. How many vessels do you have?" Hayes looked at the tactical display showing 3 human ships against 43 enemy vessels. "Enough," she said simply. The Vrak had noticed the new arrivals. The largest enemy ship, a massive battlecruiser covered in weapon ports, turned toward them. A communication signal came from the Vrak flagship. The main screen flickered to life, showing a large reptilian creature with red eyes and sharp teeth. General Throckmar, commander of the Vrak invasion fleet, stared at them with obvious contempt. "So, the Federation sends 3 tiny ships to face the might of the Vrak Empire," the alien general hissed. "You must be the humans we have heard whispers about, the ones from the Death Planet." "General Throckmar," Hayes replied calmly. "I am Admiral Hayes. You will withdraw your forces from this system immediately and return to your own territory." The Vrak general threw back his head and laughed. It was a horrible sound, like metal scraping against stone. 3 primitive ships dare to threaten the conqueror of 17 worlds? Your vessels look like metal boxes with engines attached. Surely this is a joke. "This is your final warning," Hayes said. "Leave now or be destroyed." "Destroyed by you?" Throckmar laughed again. "Human. I have 100 fighters ready to swarm your ships. Each of my battle cruisers carries more firepower than your entire fleet. You are insects before the might of the Vrak Empire." Hayes looked at Captain Clark and nodded. "General, you should have studied human history before coming here. We don't like bullies." She cut the communication and turned to her crew. "All ships, battle stations. Let's show these lizards what happens when they pick on our friends." The battle began when 50 Vrak fighters launched from the enemy carriers. They flew in tight formations, their wings gleaming in the light of the Zilani sun. The fighters were fast and agile, built for quick strikes against helpless targets. "Enemy fighters approaching," reported Lieutenant Sarah Brooks from the weapons station. "Estimated contact in 90 seconds. "Activate point defense systems," Hayes ordered. Full power. The human ships had been built to defend Earth from asteroid impacts and hostile boarding parties. Their point defense weapons could track and destroy objects moving at incredible speeds. As the Vrak fighters closed in, the human guns opened fire. The result was shocking. Streams of plasma and rapid-fire projectiles filled space around the human ships. The Vrak fighters, built for intimidation rather than durability, began exploding like fireworks. Their energy shields, designed to stop the weak weapons of Federation explorers, were useless against human firepower. In 30 seconds, 47 Vrak fighters were destroyed. Only 3 managed to escape back to their carriers. "Impossible," gasped Dr. Zethkar, the alien observer. "Your weapons just destroyed an entire fighter squadron." "That was just the warm-up," Captain Clark replied grimly. General Throckmar's voice came over the communication system again, but this time he sounded angry instead of amused. "You will pay for that, humans. All ships, attack formation, destroy those metal coffins." 12 Vrak battlecruisers moved toward the human fleet. Their massive hulls bristled with energy cannons and missile launchers. They had enough firepower to destroy a small moon. "Lieutenant Brooks, prepare the main batteries," Hayes ordered. "Target their flagship." The UES Vengeance turned toward the approaching enemy ships. Its main guns, originally designed to blast apart asteroids that threatened Earth, charged up to full power. The other human ships did the same. "Firing main batteries," Brooks announced. The space around the human ships lit up like a second sun. Massive energy beams and hypervelocity projectiles streaked across the void. The Vrak flagship, confident in its thick armor and powerful shields, flew directly into the storm of destruction. What happened next shocked everyone watching. The human weapons punched through the Vrak ship's defenses like they were made of paper. Huge sections of the enemy vessel's hull simply vanished, turned to vapor by the incredible energy output. The mighty battlecruiser, pride of the Vrak, fleet broke apart and exploded in a brilliant flash. "Direct hit on the flagship," Brooks reported. "Target destroyed." The remaining Vrak ships hesitated. They had never seen weapons that powerful before. Their own energy cannons seemed like toys compared to the human guns. "All ships, focus fire on the largest enemy vessels," Hayes commanded. No mercy for planet killers. The battle turned into a slaughter. The human ships, built to survive Earth's deadly environment, absorbed enemy fire that would have destroyed any Federation vessel. Their thick armor plating, designed to withstand meteor impacts and solar radiation, shrugged off the Vrak energy weapons. Meanwhile, the human guns continued their devastating work. Each shot from a human main battery could cripple a Vrak battle cruiser. The enemy ships, built for show rather than real combat, crumbled under the assault. "Enemy vessels attempting to flee," reported the sensor officer. Hayes watched as the surviving Vrak ships tried to escape the system. But human ships, designed to operate at accelerations that would kill most alien crews, easily caught up with them. "UES Thunder and UES Reaper, intercept the fleeing vessels," Hayes ordered. "Don't let any of them escape to spread word of our capabilities." The chase lasted only minutes. The human destroyers, moving at speeds no other species could match, hunted down the Vrak ships one by one. Their weapons, designed for precision strikes against fast-moving targets, made quick work of the enemy vessels. Within 2 hours of entering the system, the human fleet had completely destroyed the Vrak invasion force. 43 enemy ships had been reduced to floating debris. Not a single Vrak vessel escaped. "All enemy contacts destroyed," Brooks reported. "System is secure." Hayes looked at the tactical display, now showing only human ships and the grateful world of Zilani Prime. "Send a message to the surface. Tell them the cavalry has arrived and the bad guys are gone." Dr. Zethkar stared at his instruments in disbelief. "Admiral, in 2 hours you accomplished what the entire Federation military could not do in 2 months. How is this possible?" Hayes turned to face the alien observer. "Doctor, we come from a world that has been trying to kill us for millions of years. We learned to build things that last and fight wars that matter. Today, it mattered." 3 days after the battle, the human fleet was still in orbit around Zilani Prime. Admiral Hayes watched the rescue operations from the bridge of the UES Vengeance. Human medical teams and engineers worked alongside the grateful Zilani people to rebuild their damaged cities. Commander Kate Johnson led the surface operations. She stood in what used to be the Zilani capital's main hospital, now a pile of broken crystal and twisted metal. Around her, Human medics treated wounded aliens with equipment brought from Earth. The injuries are unlike anything we've seen before, reported Dr. Frank Miller, the chief medical officer. The Zelani have crystal-based biology. Their bones are like living glass, and their blood is more like liquid light. Johnson watched as her medics adapted quickly to the alien physiology. These were the same doctors who treated injuries from Earth's worst disasters. Earthquakes, hurricanes, and volcanic eruptions had taught them to work with any kind of damage. "How are the Zelani responding to our treatment?" Johnson asked. "They're amazed," Miller replied. "Our trauma medicine is apparently far more advanced than anything in the Federation. We're used to dealing with compound fractures, severe burns, and multiple organ failure. To us, these crystal fractures are just another type of injury to fix." Tall Zelani healer approached them. High healer Kethamar had survived the invasion. Though one of his crystal arms was badly cracked, the human medics had stabilized the injury and were helping it heal. "Commander Johnson," the alien said in his musical voice, "I must express our deepest gratitude. Your people have shown us kindness we never expected from warriors so fierce." Johnson smiled. "We're not just warriors, High Healer. We're also healers, builders, and protectors. Fighting is just one thing we do when we need to." The Zelani healer nodded slowly. "This is what confuses us about humans. In battle, you were like terrible gods of destruction. Your weapons turned our enemies to dust in minutes. Yet now your medics work day and night to save our wounded. How can the same species be both so violent and so compassionate?" "Because our world taught us both lessons," Johnson explained. "Earth is dangerous, so we learned to fight and survive. But we also learned to help each other, because alone, none of us would make it." Back in space, Admiral Hayes was dealing with a very different situation. The Federation Council had called another emergency meeting. This time they wanted to talk about what the human fleet had just accomplished. "Admiral Hayes," said Chancellor Vorthon, his tentacles moving nervously, "we have reviewed the battle recordings from Dr. Zethkar's instruments. The results are disturbing." Hayes raised an eyebrow. "Disturbing, Chancellor? We saved an entire species from extinction." "Yes, and we are grateful," the Chancellor replied quickly. "But your weapons demonstrated power levels that exceed our understanding. A single human ship destroyed enemies that should have required our entire fleet to defeat." Dr. Zethkar appeared on another screen. The alien scientist looked tired and overwhelmed. "Admiral, I have been analyzing your ship's performance for 3 days. Your weapons output energy equivalent to a small star. Your armor withstood attacks that should have vaporized any known material. How is this possible?" Hayes thought about how to explain it in terms the aliens would understand. "Doctor, imagine you lived your entire life in a gentle garden. Everything is safe and comfortable. You would build tools for gardening, light, efficient, designed for delicate work." She paused and looked at the worried faces on the screens. "Now imagine you lived in a place where volcanoes erupted every day, where earthquakes could split mountains, where storms could level cities. You would build very different tools. Heavy tools, strong tools, tools that could survive hell itself." "But surely there are limits," protested Counselor Thexer. "No species could develop such overwhelming military superiority." "Counselor," Hayes replied, "humans have been fighting wars for over 10,000 years. We've fought with sticks and stones, with swords and spears, with gunpowder and missiles, and now with plasma and antimatter. Every generation, we got better at destroying our enemies and protecting our friends." The alien council members exchanged uncomfortable glances. They came from species that had developed peaceful civilizations millions of years ago. The idea of continuous warfare for thousands of years was alien to them. "What concerns us," said Chancellor Vorthon carefully, "is what happens next. The news of your victory is spreading across the galaxy. Other species are asking questions about human capabilities." Hayes checked her datapad. Reports were coming in from across Federation space. The story of 3 human ships destroying an entire invasion fleet was being told and retold. Each time, the details grew more impressive. "Some species are requesting human protection," the Chancellor continued. "Others are demanding limits on human military expansion. A few are suggesting that Earth should be expelled from the Federation before you become too powerful. And what do you think, Chancellor? Hayes asked. The alien leader was quiet for a long moment. I think, he said finally, that the galaxy has changed. For 200 years, the Federation has existed in peace because no one was strong enough to threaten us seriously. The Vrak Empire proved that assumption wrong. Hayes nodded. The universe is a dangerous place, Chancellor. Peace exists only when good people are strong enough to protect it. Admiral, said Dr. Yathara, the Federation's science advisor. We have a proposal. The Federation Council would like to offer Earth a new role. Instead of being just another member species, we want humans to become our official protectors. Hayes was surprised. What exactly does that mean? It means human fleets would patrol the outer systems, the Chancellor explained. You would respond to threats that our own forces cannot handle. In exchange, Earth would have a permanent seat on the Federation Council and access to our most advanced non-military technologies. Hayes considered the offer carefully. It would mean a huge responsibility for humanity. They would become the galaxy's police force, the ones everyone called when trouble started. I'll need to discuss this with Earth's government, she said finally, but I think they'll be interested. 2 weeks later, Hayes stood on the observation deck of humanity's new base station. It orbited a strategic star system on the edge of Federation space. From here, human fleets could respond quickly to any threat in the galaxy. Captain Clark, now promoted to Admiral, joined her at the viewing window. The first patrol ships departed this morning, he reported. 12 human vessels, spread across 6 different sectors. Hayes watched the stars and thought about how much had changed. A month ago, most aliens saw humans as primitive and violent. Now they saw humans as protectors and guardians. Do you think we made the right choice? Clark asked. Hayes smiled. Ben, for millions of years, humans survived on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. We learned to fight, to protect, and to never give up. Now we have friends who need protecting. She pointed to the star map on the wall, showing dozens of peaceful worlds across Federation space. Those worlds chose to develop art, medicine, and philosophy instead of weapons. That's a beautiful choice, but it means they need someone else to stand guard while they sleep. And we're the ones standing guard, Clark said. We're the ones standing guard, Hayes agreed. Earth's children watching over the galaxy. A communication alert chimed. Lieutenant Foster's voice came over the speakers. Admiral, we're receiving a distress call from the Rigel system. Pirate attacks on the trade routes. Hayes and Clark exchanged looks. Send the nearest patrol ship, Hayes ordered, and tell them to make it quick and clean. We have a reputation to maintain. As the human ship jumped to hyperspace, Hayes looked back at the stars. Somewhere out there, people were in trouble. But now they knew that help was coming. Earth's Deathworld warriors were watching, ready to fight for those who could not fight for themselves. The galaxy was safer now, and it would stay that way as long as humans remembered the lesson their harsh world had taught them. Sometimes, the price of peace is the willingness to wage war.